Hi everyone, welcome to our first OLF cooking challenge. My name's Stephanie.
My name's Hannah. My name's Callan.
And my name is Devin.
And so today we are going to be making homemade baked mac and cheese. So first things first is the recipe is online. So hopefully you've got all your ingredients all measured out and set up like we do here. If not, pause the video and get that all set up, and then we can get cooking together. All right. And so we hope that everyone gets to try this out, and feel free to make it your own. And then we're excited to see your creations, and you post them to Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, and we can see what we've come up together as a community. So, all right. So we're going to get started. So I'm going to hand it over to the chef, and he's going to let us know what to do.
All right, so we're all chefs today. So we got our aprons, we washed our hands. Yes. And so we're making a really fantastic winter mac and cheese, perfect for cold winter February nights. Isn't that right, guys? Yeah, excellent. So in about half an hour to 45 minutes, we're going to have a delicious dinner for us to munch on. But there is a bit of work that needs to get done first before we can do that, right? So we've got all our ingredients measured off. We're all ready to go. The first thing we need to do when we make a mac and cheese, of course, is boil some pasta, right? And so what pasta are we using here, guys? What's this pasta? What do you call this? Not sure. It's called macaroni. So this is a basic sort of macaroni, elbow macaroni, right? And so we are going to be boiling this in some boiling water that's also really well seasoned with salt, okay? And we like to use kosher salt in our house. Whatever salt you guys have is totally fine. So I'm going to go dump this in.
Okay.
And in the meantime, I'm going to get Stephanie, Sienna, and Callan to make some meatballs with these fantastic sausages that we have here. So these are garlic and honey sausages, but you guys can use whatever you guys like at home. We're going to make them into little fun little meatballs, and we're going to bake them off on a sheet pan that we have here lined with a bit of parchment paper. Okay, so we're looking for probably about a tablespoon or two size meatballs. But if you guys are vegetarians at home, or if you guys want to use some cooked chicken, that's totally fine as well too. Whatever you guys have that you guys want to put into your mac and cheese to make it your own is something you guys can do at home yourselves. So let me get the pasta into the water. We'll get that going. In about 12 minutes, the pasta will be done. So we'll be able to drain it out. And in the meantime, these little ones are going to use their hands to make some delicious meatballs.
Okay. All right. So what are we going to do first?
Smells like salami.
Well, it is sausage, so. All right. So what's the first thing we need to do?
Yeah, so the first thing that you need to do with these is actually take them out of the casing. So what I like to do, there's normally an open end that you can just kind of squeeze the meat out of. Ooh. So it looks a little funny. You're going to squeeze the meat out of there, and we're looking for little balls about this size right here, okay? So
you keep
you're looking
squeezing
for
that one out.
about a tablespoon's worth of meat
I'll help you.
out of each one. So it gets a little squishy, and it gets a little slimy sometimes, but it's kind of fun.
Slimy. This one's slimy.
Yeah, and this is actually a really good job for small hands as well too. So what we're going to do is we're going to take them out of the casing, and we're going to roll them into little balls. And the big thing with this is you want to make sure that the balls are pretty much all about the same size. You have some that are bigger and some that are smaller. They may not cook all at the same time. So it's always good to try to get them as even as possible, okay? You don't have to be too exact about them, but try to get them as close to the same size as you possibly can. So there we go.
You have to go and wash your hands again now, Missy.
Pretty good, pretty good. So Cal, how are you doing over there with your meatball?
Good.
Looks
that seems
great.
like the same size.
Yeah, it seems about the same size. That's perfect. Yeah, it looks really good.
That's a bit more.
That's okay.
Let's see if I can use all of this to make.
And of course, since we're using raw meat here, guys, after you've formed your meatballs, you always want to make sure that you're washing your hands before you move on to the next task as well.
Yay.
How are you doing there, Cal?
Good.
Yeah, so just pull it all the way up, and it should just come right out of the casing. Here it comes, here it comes.
Oh, that's so satisfying.
Meatball time.
It's so satisfying to just come out of on skin. It's so weird and satisfying at the same time.
All right, here you go.
Gotta roll this.
I'm going to add a bit more meat to this one because it looks a
Okay,
little small.
so it looks like in total we got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and we're probably going to get at least 14 or 16 meatballs that we're going to mix eventually into our mac and cheese.
Did you say 16 or 60?
About 16, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
They
we need a
said
lot.
60.
No, we need a lot more sausages to make 60. That's for sure.
Okay, here's one.
So Mummy's got hers. She's probably got the last one coming out
I
pretty
think
soon.
so.
And so we are baking off our meatballs at 375 degrees in a preheated oven. And we don't need to do much else with this. You can, if you want, add a little bit of salt, add a little pepper on the meatballs if you want. But since these are already seasoned meatballs, we should be good to go. No oil is needed. We'll just bake them off. Really simple, really easy in the oven.
Okay.
So 375 degrees for approximately about 10 to 12 minutes.
Oh, look at this one.
And then we'll have some delicious meatballs we can mix into our mac and cheese. All right, guys. Well done. Good meatballs. They look great. So I'm going to fire them into the oven. And is everybody wash their hands? Colin, how about you go wash your hands? And he'll be right back.
I have.
Yeah, excellent. Good. So, Sienna, you're ready for the next job. So we have our baking dish here. And you guys can use a Pyrex dish like this, or a ceramic dish is fine as well, too. But one thing we want to do to make sure the mac and cheese doesn't stick to the dish as it's baking, we need to butter it or oil it first. So, Sienna, you've got small little hands. How about you take some of this butter and you spread it all the way across this bowl, all the way across this dish. You can press it right in. You don't have to be gentle with it. You can just get it and mix it all the way across until it's nice and greasy on the bottom and also a little bit on the sides coming up the side as well too. Hello, Chef Callan. Welcome back. All right. So Sienna's just buttering this dish. And again, we're buttering the dish to make sure that the baked mac and cheese doesn't stick to the dish too much as it's baking.
Can I help you out here?
Yeah, so
No,
Mummy's
you got
going to
it?
jump in. No,
No.
Sienna's doing a good job. Okay,
All right,
you
she
keep
got
going,
it.
girl. Do your thing. You butter that dish. Yeah, so butter, and try to get on the sides a little bit there too, okay, Chef Sienna? All right, excellent, good job. So the next thing that we're going to need to do, guys, for our mac and cheese is actually make a classic bechamel sauce. So a French bechamel sauce is typically a sauce that you'd use for mac and cheese, even though maybe you're not accustomed with that name. It is basically the sauce of choice, and it's a milk-based sauce. And we're using a roux. A roux is a combination of butter and flour in equal parts that we use to thicken up the milk or cream or a combination of the two. Okay, and that's going to form the basis for our sauce. We're going to allow it to cook and thicken up. The starches will gelatinize when heat is applied to it, and then from that point we can add in our cheese to make a cheese sauce. So it's basically a variation on a bechamel. Okay, it's a classic cheese sauce that we're going to make for this mac and cheese. So that's looking great, Cal. I think we're all set there. Our dish is nice and buttered. So as you guys can see, we've buttered it all the way on the bottom, a little bit up the sides as well too. Let's show them in the other camera here too, Callan.
Yeah, I just gotta.
Yeah, you want to make sure it's really well. Callan's very meticulous. He likes to make sure everything is really well buttered. So that's great. That's perfect. I think you're all set there. How about you go wash your hands again?
Yes, of course.
And so now that the dish is buttered, it can kind of stay off to the side. We can forget about it for a little bit. And we can turn our attention to the next thing, which is our sauce. So I've got a pan here that's being heated up. So this pan is really hot, CC, so you want to be careful. Don't touch this pot. It's heating up. I'm going to add some butter to this pot. I'm going to add my flour in here as well too. So I've got basically equal amounts of butter to flour by volume, or by weight is fine as well too. First thing you need to do is melt that butter first. So I'm going to add my butter in. It's a nice hot pan, so as you can hear probably, it's sizzling. Really, really hot, so you want to be careful, especially around little people. Okay. Allow that butter to melt, and then I'm going to be whisking in and mixing together my flour. And I'll show you guys that in the other camera in a second. So here on the stove, my butter is nicely melted now. I'm going to add in my flour. I'm going to grab myself a trusty little whisk, and I'm going to whisk that flour and butter together until it resembles almost like a dough. You want it to be sort of like a really sort of wet dough. It's a little bit fluid, that's okay. And you want to cook it a little bit, maybe for 2 or 3 minutes, just to cook out some of that raw flavor of the flour as well. Okay? So let me cook out a bit. I got my pasta in the back, it's still kind of boiling away. Every once in a while, check on the pasta, see where it's at. You want the pasta to be fairly al dente, so still a little bit of a bite to it. But you want to make sure it's fully cooked.
But if you like softer pasta, just let it cook a little bit more.
Okay, so I'm actually going to go ahead and check on my pasta here at the back. Every once in a while, it's good to give your pasta as it's cooking a little bit of a stir, just to make sure that you're not getting pasta kind of sticking together. So mine is still very, very raw right now. Not even close to being cooked, so I'm going to leave that back in there. And make sure that your pasta water is really well seasoned as well too. So I added in some kosher salt into mine, but again, add in whatever salt you guys have in your house. So now that we have our roux going, our thickening agent going, next thing we need to add is our milk and our cream, okay, combination. It can be all milk. You can do all cream if you want. It will be very, very rich if you do all cream. Normally a combination of the two is really the best. So we've got 3 cups of milk there. And that 3 cups of milk is now going to go into the roux, okay? So when I do it, I like to basically slowly pour it in, okay? And I'm whisking constantly to make sure that I don't get any lumps, okay? So you guys want to come watch this? Bring your stools over. Again, be careful. It's very, very hot over here. So I'm going to slowly add in my milk, okay? And it's going to froth a little bit. It might bubble a little bit, so just be careful. Make sure there's no little faces too close to the pots. And I'm whisking, just to make sure that I don't get any lumps in my sauce. That's what we want to try to avoid. Okay, I'm going to turn the heat up on my pot, basically as high as I can get it. And now I'm going to whisk. So let's show you underneath the other camera. So all my flour is in there right now. I'm whisking. Make sure it stays on the heat, and you want to constantly whisk it until the starches in the flour start to gelatinize, okay? So when starches come in contact with heat, they tend to gelatinize. That causes the thickening of the cream and the milk. So keep stirring until that happens. You want to pretty much be stirring constantly. Otherwise, what's going to happen is you get little lumps. And nobody wants a lumpy sauce, do they, guys? No. No lumpy sauces here, okay? All right, so whisking away. While that's happening, another thing that we can do, maybe Chef Stephanie can melt the other set of butter that we have. Okay, so 2 tablespoons of butter. We're going to take that and we're going to melt that in the microwave. That's probably the easiest way to do that. And this is to form our crumble, which we're putting on top of the baked mac and cheese. So we're using a panko breadcrumb along with some Parmesan cheese and some smoked paprika. If you guys don't have smoked paprika, you can totally go ahead and use regular paprika, like a sweet paprika as well too. That'd be quite delicious, wouldn't it, guys? Yeah, be really good. And if you don't have that, maybe another spice. Try something else, like a cumin might be kind of nice. Whatever sort of spices you guys have, maybe some dried herbs, some dried thyme, maybe some rosemary. Might be pretty tasty. So we can do that as well. So it may take a while, especially if your milk and cream were cold, for it to come up to temperature and then for it to eventually gelatinize as well too. So right now, it's a bit of a waiting game. How many more seconds do you think it's going to take? How many more minutes do you think it's going to take? What do you think, Cece? How long? Maybe 1 minute? 10 minutes? Oh my gosh, we'll be here all night. We'll never get to eat. Okay, let's check on it and see. Chef Callan, you want to come over here and do a little bit of stirring? Yeah. So bring your, that's okay, so bring your stool over. And I'm going to give you another whisk, one that's not super hot. And I want you to keep whisking away until that starts to thicken up. Okay, so you let me know when that starts to get nice and thick.
Nope. Hey.
What's that? Chef Stana wants to know when can she do some stuff. Okay, well, I think it's probably a good time for you to make the topping for the mac and cheese. So this panko topping. So let's get all set here. So see, I'm going to grab you a little stainless steel bowl, and we're going to make a really nice topping, nice crumble, bread crumble topping for this mac and cheese. What do you think? Yeah? Thumbs up. Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so let's grab a stainless steel bowl.
Please, come wash your hands.
Yeah, let's wash your hands one more time. Chef Cece. And how's that sauce coming along, Chef Callan?
It's getting a bit more thick.
It's getting a little bit thicker? That's good, yeah. So Callan's whisking away. As he's whisking, the cream is starting to gelatinize, okay? Or the starches in the flour are starting to gelatinize. And that is thickening our sauce.
Let me take a look at it.
All right. Oh, here we go. So now it's starting to get a little bit thicker, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. So you want to be fairly thick, but again, the cheese as well too is going to thicken up the sauce as well once we add the cheese in. And that's what's next. So Callan, do you want to grab me that larger container of cheese, or maybe Chef Mummy? Yeah. You want to grab that one in? And I think now, yeah, I think just dump it in. You can go ahead and just dump in that cheese once your sauce is nice and thick. Let me show everybody how thick this is now compared to where it was before. So now that we've allowed it to thicken up a little bit and those starches are nicely gelatinizing, we've got a nice, creamy, delicious bechamel sauce. Okay, let's turn that into a cheese sauce now. Let's add in our cheese. Okay, so you just go ahead and dump that in. Excellent. Good stuff. Get a little bit closer to the sauce. And then, Shasya, we're going to do the crumble right now. Yeah, come on. Come on, good girl. All right, so let's pour these panko breadcrumbs into this bowl.
All of it?
All of it. You can dump it all in. There we go. Good stuff. Good stuff. Now, Chef Mummy was nice enough to melt this butter. I'm going to pour it in there. It's a little bit hot, so I'm going to pour it in. And I'm going to grab you a spoon so we can mix it together. So we're going to take that. So we've got our breadcrumbs, our butter mixed in there. We've got some extra cheese, so some Parmesan cheese, along with the cheddar that we're adding into the sauce. We're going to add that in. Chef Sienna, do you want to add that into the bowl? And Chef Callan, I'll get you to put in our smoked paprika. Yeah, all of it. Dump it all in there. The more cheese, the better. That's what I always say. Okay, there we go. And Chef Sienna, do you want to take this very gently, just mix all those ingredients together? So Sienna is mixing our butter, our panko breadcrumbs, our Parmesan cheese, and our smoked paprika. That's all getting mixed now together. This is forming basically kind of like a savory streusel crumble that we're going to be adding on top of our baked mac and cheese before it goes into the oven.
That looks good.
So it's been about 10 minutes or so. So I'm going to go check now on my meatballs and see if they're cooked yet. And the most fun part about that is the fact that we get to taste one as well too, to see if it's fully cooked.
They do look good.
All right, so let me jump in there. They're looking pretty good. They're definitely very hot. And you can always tell when they're cooked when they're nice and firm. They look pretty delicious to me. Nice and yummy. I think they're steaming hot. So you always got to be careful. Always make sure that you have an oven mitt or a nice dry rag when you're pulling things out of the oven. And watch out for little hands as well too. The little hands don't want to touch this, do they?
No.
Yeah, definitely not. So here we go, guys. We've got our meatballs done. That's going to be mixed into the mac and cheese in a moment. We've got our panko crumble with Parmesan cheese all set to go. Chef Stephanie over there is whisking away the cheese sauce. It's pretty much ready to go. And I think we're just about ready to check on our pasta as well too. Our pasta should be fairly close now. It's been boiling for just over 10 minutes. It's looking fairly cooked to me. I'm going to pull one out of the water and give it a little bit of a taste and see if it is cooked enough for us to add into our cheese sauce. Looks pretty good. It's hot, super hot. So you want to watch out. You want to blow it a little bit to cool it down a little bit and then pop it into your mouth. Perfect. Al dente. It's got a little bite to it, but there's no raw pasta in the center, which means that it's fully cooked. You want to try one? Yeah. So remember, watch out. It's a little bit hot. Grab one small little piece. Give it a little blow. Oh, yeah, pretty warm, eh? Give that a little blow, and then after a couple seconds, it'll be cool enough to eat. You want to try another? You want to try one? Yeah? Okay. Good stuff, guys. So, our sauce is looking good. Our pasta's good. Our meatballs are all done. Now we need to bring it all together into a mac and cheese, right? So I'm going to pull out and drain that pasta. We've got a double boiling system going on. And so what I'm going to do is pull that double boiler out. I'm going to drain the pasta. And typically what you want to do is add maybe about a tablespoon or so of oil in your pasta, just to make sure that the pasta doesn't stick together or clump together. But to be honest, since we're going to be taking that pasta, putting it directly in the sauce, you can omit that step. But if you were boiling the pasta away in advance, which you can do as well, then yes, you can make sure that you want to add a little bit of oil to make sure that it doesn't all stick and clump up together.
Is this good?
Let's have a look. Looks pretty good to me. Let me see here. It's all mixed together. Looks really good. It's going to be quite yummy, I think. Okay, you're going to keep stirring that for a second. And oh, now I'm going to take a taste of the pasta. And you can tell that the water that it was in a lot of flavor. It's good, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, I need the last piece. Sorry. Don't worry. Look, have it. All the mac and cheese once you baked it all off. Mm-hmm. So, Chef, what's our next step now?
Next step
Drain the
now.
pasta.
Yeah, we're draining the pasta.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I've got all my pasta nicely drained, very hot still, obviously. That's our macaroni, our elbow macaroni. Okay, so now this can go directly into our bechamel sauce, our cheese sauce that we've made. So our cheese sauce, we're going to add in our pasta.
Oh, that was satisfying.
Pretty delicious. So I'm going to go ahead and mix that all together. Nice and cheesy and yummy. And then our meatballs that we made can get mixed into there as well too. So be careful, they're going to be a little bit hot. I've been cooking for many years, so I can typically just use my hands to get them directly into the sauce. I'm going to drop them in. That's all good. And so now our meatballs are nicely. That's excellent, Chef CC. Good job. So now our mac and cheese is basically done. And you can eat the mac and cheese just like this if you like, but let's take it up one more notch. And let's actually layer it inside our baking dish and bake it off.
All right, baking dishes to the side.
All right, so we got our greased baking dish all ready to go. Got to make sure to clean up our workstation. So always as we are working, we're always cleaning up as we go and getting things into the dishwasher or into the sink. That's always something that little hands can do, isn't that right? Yes, for sure. All right. So basically all set. So now I'm going to ask Chef Colin just to move over a little bit so I can come through here with a really hot pan. And so what we like to do here is actually layer it a couple more times. So I can ask Chef Mummy just to fold that really nicely for me. And I'll get that directly on our countertop. Remember, this pot's very, very hot, so you want to make sure you're not laying it directly down on your counter because you could ruin your counter that way. So I'm going to buffer it with a nice apron. This isn't quite the right spoon that I need for this job, so let me go grab another spoon. Actually, a large ladle oftentimes works well for this. So we're going to ladle this really hot mac and cheese. And guys, how does this look?
Ooh.
Isn't that delicious? Oh my gosh. So right.
Meatball in it.
Yeah, it's the meatballs in it.
Wait, you got 3 meatballs.
Yeah, 3 meatballs in one. So everything goes in there, meatballs and mac and cheese. We want to layer it sort of half first into the dish like this. Okay, about half. And then, Callan, can I get you to take some of this cheese and put this cheese over top of that first layer? Okay, so we're basically creating like a nice layer of cheese in between the 2 sets of mac and cheese. And then we'll eventually dump our panko breadcrumb mixture with the Parmesan cheese directly over top. And then again, we're going to fire it into our oven. And we'll cook it in our oven for probably about 15, maybe 20 minutes. Just enough so the panko breadcrumb on the top gets nice and golden and everything is nice and hot and bubbly. Now what's great about this recipe is it can be made actually well in advance. You can put it in your fridge, the next day pull it out and bake it off in your oven probably for about 30 minutes to 40 minutes, again, until everything's nice and hot and bubbly. All right, again, another great job for little hands. There we go, chefs, good job with that cheese. So now our cheese is nicely, evenly mixed on top of our first layer of mac and cheese. And then we're gonna add the rest over top. And it's kind of fun to have that nice sort of rich layer of cheddar cheese directly there in the center. We're going to see how much this mac and cheese we actually fit in this dish. It's our first time using this dish for mac and cheese. So we'll see if this recipe works well for this size, and I think it does. It's just about perfect. So in order to get the rest, for sure. So in order to get the rest, what I like to do is transition to a heat-safe spatula. Okay, and we'll just dump the rest over top, just like that. Make sure to get all that sauce. And the nice thing about a spatula is that you can make sure there's very little waste by getting all the edges of the sauce directly into the container. And now, Chef Cece, your handiwork is up next. You got your breadcrumb mixture to go on top. So you want to take your hands there. You can use your hands. Just get right in there and put some of the breadcrumbs all over the top of that mac and cheese. Yeah, go ahead, Colin. You get in there too. You help your sister out.
It's okay.
And it's okay. We can always even it out. So even if you dump it right in the center, you can always move it across. And we'll probably have to do that to make sure that all that topping is there on mac and cheese. This is a messy part of this recipe. That's okay. Cooking always involves a little bit of mess, right? It's always a little messy, but that's part of the fun, right, guys? Yeah. So I'm going to get the rest of that breadcrumb mixture over top, nice and even all the way across. And I think we chose the right container, because if you did, what you should end up with is a nice full but not overflowing baking dish full of mac and cheese. So let's show you guys that in the other camera. There we go, all set. Now this can go directly into the oven. What I like to do, because what typically happens is that some of it may bubble over. So in order for you to stop it from bubbling over onto your oven, I like to actually put it onto another tray. So just like that, and we can fire both of these directly into our oven. So again, make sure your oven temperature is set to 375 degrees. We'll bake that off. We can forget about it, and then we can come back and check on it in about 20 minutes.
All right.
All right. Okay. We'll see you guys again very shortly when we reveal our mac and cheese. And we want you guys to reveal your mac and cheese as well, too. And we'd love for you guys to share that with you as soon as it's done.
Okay.
All right. Thanks very much, guys. We'll see you guys in a few minutes.
Okay, so now we are going to show you our final baked mac and cheese.
Here it is, guys. The big unveiling. Can I get a drum roll, please?
Watch your head.
Ta-da! Baked sausage mac and cheese. Ready for dinner, guys. So we're all set. Took about 20 minutes in the oven. Not too much longer than that. Good. Some nice browning there on the panko breadcrumbs. Nice and bubbly on the sides. That's what you're looking for. And it's ready to be eaten, I think. Yeah.
We'll show them on the other camera.
All right, guys. Let's show you the other camera over here. So we got our delicious mac and cheese. And what's great about this is that it's super cheesy with that extra cheese that we put in the middle. So I'm going to spoon a little bit onto a plate here so you guys can see all of its deliciousness in all of its glory. Look at that. I'm ready to eat that. I don't know about you guys, but I'm super hungry after all that cooking. So there we go. There's our finished baked mac and cheese. Wonderful family comfort food. Thank you guys for taking part in this challenge with us. We had a really great time. We wish you guys all the best to all of our OLF families, and we'll see you guys again next time.
Yeah. Stay safe, enjoy, and we can't wait to see your versions of your mac and cheese. Don't forget to post on Instagram, on Twitter, or on Facebook, and let's share what we can create together as a community. Take care, everyone.
Have a good night. Bye.
Bye.